The command center buzzed with nervous energy. Valfarar stood before the holographic display, his feathers ruffling in agitation. 3 months had passed since the first reports came in, and the situation had only gotten worse. His officers sat around the table, none of them meeting his eyes. "Explain this to me again," Valfarar said, his voice sharp. "We have superior numbers. We have better weapons. We control the orbital space. Yet my soldiers are refusing deployment orders." The room fell silent. Finally, Cross spoke up. The old Scaran warrior had seen more battles than anyone else in the room. His scales bore the scars of a dozen campaigns. "Commander, they are afraid. The humans, they fight differently." Valfarar slammed his talon on the table. "Afraid? Of what?" "Humans are small. They have weak bones. They need constant food and water. They die if they go too long without sleep. What is there to fear?" Cross leaned forward. "That is what we thought. But the story's coming back from the field, Commander. The soldiers who survive encounters with human special forces, they speak of things that should not be possible." Another officer, a young communications specialist named Dexori, pulled up a report. "Sir, last week on the mining colony at Threshold 7, a patrol of 12 soldiers encountered a human team. 5 humans, confirmed. The patrol had sensors, thermal imaging, everything. They knew the humans were there. And?" Valfarar demanded. "The humans vanished. For 3 days, our patrol searched. They found nothing. Then on the 4th night, they woke up to find their weapons disassembled and stacked in the center of their camp. The humans had crept past all 12 soldiers while they slept, taken their weapons apart, and left without being detected." Valfarar stared. "That is impossible. Our soldiers have enhanced hearing. They sleep in shifts." "Yes, sir. That is what they said too. But it happened. And that same night, the humans completed their mission, destroyed the communications relay, and extracted without a single casualty." Dexori paused. "Sir, that patrol requested transfer off-world the next day. All 12 of them. More Tank, a veteran sergeant, added his voice. Commander, I have served for 30 years. I have never seen morale this low. The soldiers, they talk. They share stories. Every unit that has faced human special forces either suffers heavy casualties or refuses to engage entirely. Valfarar sat down heavily. Show me these human operators. What makes them so dangerous? The holographic display changed. It showed grainy footage from a surveillance drone. 5 figures moved through a dense forest. They wore simple camouflage and carried basic kinetic weapons. Nothing about them looked special. This is Captain Hyunwoo Kim and his team, Dexori explained. Earth's 5th Special Operations Unit. They have been active in this sector for 2 months. The footage continued. The humans moved with purpose, but without apparent hurry. They paused frequently, using hand signals to communicate. Then, without warning, they seemed to melt into the forest. One moment they were visible, the next they were gone. Replay that, Valfarar ordered. They watched it 3 more times. The humans did not use any special technology. They did not have cloaking devices. They simply used the terrain, the shadows, and their own discipline to become invisible. They are just hiding well, Valfarar said, but his voice lacked conviction. Cross shook his head. Watch what happens next, Commander. The footage jumped forward 6 hours. A coalition patrol, 20 soldiers strong, moved through the same area. They had energy weapons, combat armor, and sensor packages. They should have been able to detect anything within 100 meters. The humans struck from 5 different directions simultaneously. The engagement lasted 11 seconds. When it was over, 15 coalition soldiers were unconscious, their weapons missing. 5 had fled. 0 human casualties. Velthrar watched the footage twice more. The coordination was perfect. Each human knew exactly where the others were without looking. They moved like water, flowing around obstacles, supporting each other without verbal communication. How did they do this? He asked quietly. We do not know, sir, Mortank replied. Our intelligence believes they trained together for years. They develop what humans call unit cohesion. They trust each other completely. All soldiers train together, Velthrar protested. Not like this, Commander. Human Special Forces units live together, train together, suffer together. They form bonds that go beyond military discipline. When one moves, the others respond instinctively. They fight as one organism with 5 bodies. Velthrar stood and paced. I have new orders from High Command. Captain Kim's team is heading to the mining colony on Threshold 7. We are to establish a defensive perimeter and capture them for study. The room erupted in protest. Officers spoke over each other, their voices rising in alarm. Velthrar raised his talons for silence. I know what you are thinking, but we have no choice. High Command wants to know how they do this. They want to understand human tactics. He paused. I need 3 companies for the deployment. Volunteers only. Nobody spoke. The silence stretched painfully. Finally, Dexuri stood. Sir, with respect, you are asking us to volunteer for a suicide mission. The tactical briefings classify engagement with human special forces as extremely high risk. Some analysts call it unsurvivable. We have superior numbers, Velthrar argued, but even he could hear the doubt in his voice. Cross stood as well. Commander, I will go, but I will not order my soldiers to come with me. They have families. They have reasons to live. Fighting humans like Captain Kim, that is not war. That is something else entirely. Velthrar looked around the room. These were good soldiers. Brave soldiers. But fear had taken root, and he could see it in every face. Very well, he said quietly. I will inform High Command that we need alternative strategies. Meeting dismissed. As the officers filed out, Velthrar stood alone in the command center. On the display, the frozen image of Captain Hyun-woo Kim's team stared back at him. 5 humans in simple gear, looking unremarkable. But Velthrar knew the truth now. Those 5 humans had changed the nature of warfare in this sector. Not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through something far more dangerous: perfect execution of the fundamentals. Honed to an edge sharp enough to cut through any defense, and they were coming to Threshold 7. The garrison at Threshold 7 received the deployment orders at dawn. Mortank read them twice, hoping he had misunderstood. He had not. 3 companies were to establish defensive positions around the mining colony's primary facilities. Intelligence confirmed human special forces were inbound. He gathered his soldiers in the assembly area. 200 faces looked back at him. Some were young, barely past their first deployment. Others were veterans who had seen real combat. All of them had heard the stories. Soldiers of the Coalition, Mortank began, his voice strong. We have our orders. Human operators are approaching Threshold 7. High Command requires us to defend the mining operations and, if possible, capture the human team for study. A ripple went through the formation. Soldiers glanced at each other. Someone in the back ranks said something Mortank could not hear, but it caused nervous laughter. I know what you have heard, Mortank continued. I know the rumors. But we are soldiers. We follow orders. We do our duty. Dexuri stepped forward from the formation. The young soldier's face showed no disrespect, but his voice was steady. Sergeant, with all respect, we have the right to refuse deployment on suicide missions. It is in the Rules of Engagement, Section 12, Paragraph 7. Mortank felt his jaw tighten. This is not a suicide mission. We have superior numbers. We have prepared positions. We have— They do not sleep, Dexori interrupted. The humans. They can stay awake for days. They hunt in the dark like demons. They see without light. They move without sound. His voice grew stronger. Last month, a full battalion tried to corner 5 humans in a canyon. The humans escaped by climbing a sheer rock wall in complete darkness. A wall that our own mountain specialists said was unclimbable. More voices joined in. A female soldier named Boerhan spoke up. My cousin served on Outpost 17. She saw a human medic treat a wounded civilian with gentle hands, speaking soft words. Then 4 soldiers came around the corner. The human killed all 4 in less than 3 seconds, then went back to bandaging the civilian's arm. She did not even raise her voice. Another soldier added, I heard they can go a week without sleep. That they eat once a day and drink almost nothing. That they run for hours without stopping. Mortank raised his hands. These are exaggerations. Humans are biological. They have limits like all of us. Do they? Dexori asked quietly. Because every report says the same thing. They do not stop. They do not quit. They complete their mission no matter what stands in their way. Ba'ora stepped forward to join Dexori. Sergeant, I have a family. I have younglings waiting for me to come home. I will not throw my life away fighting enemies who have never been captured. Never been stopped, never been defeated in this sector. One by one, soldiers began to step forward, standing beside Dexori and Ba'ora. Mortank watched as his entire company moved, forming a silent wall of refusal. This is mutiny, he said, but there was no force behind his words. No, Sergeant, Dexori replied. This is survival. We invoke Section 12, Paragraph 7. We are refusing a suicide mission. Mortank looked at them. These were not cowards. He had served with many of them for years. They had faced enemy fire without flinching. But this was different. The fear in their eyes was not the normal fear of battle. It was something deeper. He activated his communicator. Command, this is Sergeant Mortank. I need to speak with Commander Velthrar immediately. 10 minutes later, Velthrar arrived at the assembly area. His feathers were bristled, a sign of extreme agitation. Sergeant, explain this situation. Sir, the soldiers are invoking Section 12. They are refusing deployment. Velthrar's eye swept across the formation. I can have all of you court-martialed. Your careers will be over. You will be imprisoned. Ba'arhan spoke up. Sir, we accept that consequence. But we will not die for nothing. These humans, they are not normal soldiers. Fighting them is not combat. It is execution. You have not even seen them yet, Velthrar argued. No, sir, but we have read the reports. Every single one. Dexori pulled up a datapad. In the last 3 months, human special forces have conducted 47 operations in this sector. 47 missions. They have completed all 47 with 100% success rate. Coalition casualties in those engagements total over 300. Human casualties total 0. Velthrar stared at the numbers. That cannot be accurate. It is, sir. I verified it myself through 3 separate intelligence channels. Dexori's voice was respectful but firm. Sir, we are soldiers. We will fight any enemy you order us to face. But we are not fools. These humans, they are something else. They are hunters, and we are the prey. Velthrar stood silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke quietly. What do you suggest? Evacuate the mining colony, Ba'ora said immediately. Pull everyone out. Let the humans complete whatever mission they have come for. Then, when they leave, we return. High Command will never approve that. Then High Command should come here and face them personally, Dexori said. And several soldiers made sounds of agreement. Velthrar looked at Mortank. Sergeant, your opinion? The old warrior sighed. Sir, I agree with them. I have fought many battles. I know when a fight is winnable and when it is not. These humans, they fight with a skill level we cannot match. Our only advantage would be overwhelming numbers, and even then, I doubt we could stop them. Far above the planet, in orbit, Captain Hyun-Woo Kim reviewed the mission briefing with his team. Lieutenant Ji-Won Park checked her sniper rifle for the third time. Sergeant Taeyang Lee organized his demolition charges with practiced efficiency. Corporal Su Bin Choi prepared her medical kit, though she rarely needed it for her own team. Intelligence says the garrison knows we are coming, Hyun-Woo said calmly. They may try to set an ambush. Ji-Won smiled slightly. They always try. It never works. Stay sharp anyway, Hyun-Woo ordered. Overconfidence kills. We do this by the book. Infiltrate. Locate the target. Neutralize the communications hub. Extract. Rules of engagement? Taeyang asked. Avoid contact if possible. If contact is unavoidable, minimum necessary force. We are not here to kill coalition soldiers. We are here to complete the mission. Subin nodded. Understood, Captain. The dropship began its descent toward Threshold 7. In the colony below, Velthrar made his decision. He could not order his soldiers into a fight they refused to take. And deep in his heart, he knew they were right. Evacuate the colony, he ordered. Pull everyone back to the orbital station. As the coalition forces withdrew, 5 humans descended through the darkness toward the now empty mining colony, ready to complete another mission that would add to their growing legend. Corinth arrived at the Coalition Command Center with a reputation that preceded her. She was the best strategic mind in the Coalition forces, a counterintelligence officer who had predicted and prevented 17 major enemy operations. Velthrar hoped she could find a way to stop the humans. Commander, she said, settling into the chair across from his desk. I have reviewed all available data on human special forces operations. I have studied every engagement, every tactical decision, every mission outcome. And? Velthrar leaned forward hopefully. Can we predict their movements? Can we stop them? Corinth's expression was grim. No, Commander. We cannot. Velthra slumped back. Explain. Human Special Forces teams operate with complete autonomy. Each team adapts in real time to changing conditions. They have no fixed doctrine, no predictable patterns. She pulled up a holographic display showing dozens of mission maps. Look at these. In this operation, they use stealth exclusively. In this one, they engaged in direct combat. Here, they use deception. Here, they use speed. Every mission is different. All forces adapt to conditions, Velthrar protested. Not like this. Most forces adapt within established doctrines. Humans throw out the entire doctrine if the situation requires it. Corinth highlighted several missions. It is like fighting 5 separate, highly intelligent predators who share a single mind. They communicate without words. They trust each other absolutely. They never leave anyone behind. Velthrar studied the maps. There must be a weakness. Everyone has a weakness. If there is, I cannot find it. Corinth paused. Commander, I recommend we avoid engagement entirely. Fighting them is not worth the cost. While this conversation happened in orbit, Captain Hyun-Woo's team moved through the mining colony like ghosts. Jin Ho-song, their tech specialist, worked on the security systems with focused intensity. His fingers flew over the control panel, bypassing encryption that should have taken days to crack. Security grid is down, he said softly into his com. You have a clear path to the communications hub. Copy that, Hyun-Woo replied. Hi Jin, what do you see? Hai Jin Yum lay on a rooftop 300 meters away, her eyes scanning the colony through enhanced optics. 2 patrols remaining. They are moving on predictable routes. I can guide you around them. Negative, Haiyan Wu said. We avoid them if possible, but we do not rely on their patterns. People are unpredictable. Stay alert. The team moved through the colony in silence. They communicated with hand signals and subtle movements. Years of training together had given them an almost telepathic connection. Ji-won knew where Haiyan Wu would move before he moved. Tae-yang anticipated what Su-bin would need before she asked. They reached the communications hub without incident. Tae-yang examined the structure, calculating charge placements in his head. 4 charges, strategically placed. The building comes down clean, minimal collateral damage. Do it, Haiyan Wu ordered. We have 12 minutes before the next patrol cycle. Tae-yang set the charges with practiced efficiency. Each one was placed with mathematical precision. He could have done it blindfolded, and sometimes in training, he had thought Su-bin kept watch, her weapon ready, but her mind calm. She thought about the coalition soldiers they had avoided. They were just doing their jobs, like she was doing hers. She hoped they would stay out of the way. Charges set, Tae-yang reported. Timer at 10 minutes. Extract, Haiyan Wu ordered. They moved toward the extraction point, a clearing 2 kilometers from the colony. They had covered half the distance when Jin-ho's voice came through the comm. Captain, we have a problem. Emergency broadcast just went out. Coalition reinforcements are inbound. Heavy reinforcements. Haiyan Wu did not hesitate. How long until they arrive? 15 minutes. The charges detonate in 8. We move faster. Double time. The team increased their pace, moving through the rough terrain with the ease of long practice. They jumped over obstacles, ducked under branches, and maintained formation without breaking stride up behind them. The charges detonated exactly on schedule. The communications hub collapsed in a controlled demolition, cutting off coalition communications in the entire sector. But the reinforcements arrived faster than predicted. As the team approached the extraction point, Haijin spotted them. Contact. 50 soldiers, heavy weapons, moving to cut off our extraction route. Haiyan Wu assessed the situation in seconds. New plan. G1, can you reach the high ground to the east? Affirmative. Go. Provide overwatch. Everyone else, we circle wide and come in from the north. They will expect us to push through. We go around instead. The team split. Yi-1 moved like smoke through the forest, reaching an elevated position that gave her a clear view of the extraction point. The rest of the team moved in a wide arc, adding kilometers to their route but avoiding the ambush entirely. The coalition soldiers waited at the extraction point, weapons ready, scanning for any sign of the humans. They never looked north. Why would they? The humans should have been coming from the south. Haiyan Wu's team reached the alternate extraction point without being detected. Their dropship descended from the clouds, already moving before it touched the ground. Go, 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 Haiyan Wu ordered. The team boarded in practice sequence. Su-bin first, securing the interior. Tae-yang and Jin-ho next, weapons covering their flanks. Hai-jin arrived last, having taken a different route from her overwatch position. Ji-won remained on the high ground, watching through her scope as the coalition soldiers realized they had been outmaneuvered. She could see their confusion, their frustration. Then she was moving, sprinting through the forest with the endurance that came from thousands of hours of training. The dropship hovered, waiting. G1 burst from the tree line and leaped, catching the landing skid as the craft began to rise. Hands reached down and pulled her inside. All personnel accounted for, Haiyan Wu reported to the pilot. Mission complete. 0 casualties. On the ground, the coalition soldiers watched the dropship disappear into the clouds. They had brought 50 soldiers, heavy weapons, and air support. They had set a perfect ambush. The humans had walked around it like it was not even there. In orbit. Corinth watched the mission report come in. She read it 3 times, then looked at Velthrar. Do you see, Commander? They do not follow our expectations. They do not fight the battles we prepare for. They fight the battles they choose, and they win every time. Velthrar stared at the report. 50 soldiers. The best equipment. A perfect ambush. And the humans had completed their mission without firing a single shot. What do we do? He asked quietly. Karn stood. We stop trying to fight them. And we start trying to understand them. Because if we can understand them, maybe we can learn from them. And maybe, just maybe, we can become something more than prey. Velthrar nodded slowly. It was time to try a different approach. It was time to talk instead of fight, because fighting humans like Captain Hyanwu was not a battle. It was a lesson in humility, delivered with perfect precision by warriors who never stopped, never quit, and never failed. The diplomatic chamber on the neutral station was designed to accommodate multiple species. Ambassador Dexler sat across from the human delegation, his mandibles clicking nervously. This was not the meeting he had expected to have. Jung Kang, Earth's diplomatic liaison officer, sat calmly with his hands folded on the table. Beside him, Mi Young-shin reviewed data on her tablet. The psychological operations specialist looked more like a teacher than a military officer, which was exactly how she preferred it. Ambassador Dexler, Dongjun began, his voice pleasant. Thank you for requesting this meeting. We are always happy to pursue diplomatic solutions. Dexler's translator unit struggled with his agitated tone. We did not come to negotiate territory or resources. Liaison Kang. We came to ask you to stop. Stop what? Precisely? Stop sending your special forces teams. Stop sending warriors like Captain Kim and his unit. Our soldiers refuse to fight them. Our commanders cannot maintain discipline. Your operators are destroying our military cohesion without firing a shot. Dongjun exchanged a glance with Mi Young. She gave a small nod, and he turned back to Dexler. Ambassador, our special forces are conducting legitimate military operations in contested zones. We are following all established rules of engagement. We know, Dexler said, his voice carrying frustration. That is the problem. You are not violating any rules. You are simply better than us. Far better. Impossibly better. He pulled up a holographic display. In the last 4 months, human special forces have conducted 93 operations in coalition space. 93 missions. You have completed all of them successfully. Our casualties number over 500. Your casualties number 0. Our operators are well-trained, Dongjun said carefully. Well-trained? Dexler's mandibles clicked rapidly. We have studied your training programs. We have analyzed your methods. Your soldiers are not enhanced. They are not cybernetic. They are baseline humans. How is this possible? Mi Young spoke for the first time. Ambassador, may I ask you a question? How long do your special forces train before deployment? 3 years. Standard across the coalition. And how many hours per day do they train? 6 hours with rest periods included. Dexler paused. Why does this matter? Mi Young pulled up her own data. Human Special Forces candidates train for a minimum of 2 years before they even attempt selection. Those who pass selection then train for another 3 to 5 years before joining operational teams. During training, they work 16 to 18 hours per day. They learn to function on minimal sleep, minimal food, and maximum stress. Dexler stared. That would kill most species. It kills some humans too, Mi Young said quietly. The selection rate for human special forces is less than 10%. Most candidates quit. Some are injured. A few die during training. You kill your own soldiers during training? Dexler sounded horrified. No. We push them to their absolute limits, and sometimes those limits are reached. We do everything possible to keep them safe, but the training is designed to be harder than any combat they will face. Dongjun leaned forward. Ambassador, our special forces are not superior because of genetics or technology. They are superior because they train harder than anyone else thinks is possible. Dexler sat back. I do not believe you. Show me. That can be arranged, Mi-young said. We can provide you with access to observe a training exercise. Not the classified parts, of course, but enough to understand our methods. 2 weeks later, Commander Velthrar stood in an observation room overlooking a human special forces training facility. Below him, 40 candidates moved through what the humans called a field training exercise. This is day 4 of a 5-day continuous operation. The training instructor, Young-Soo Bae, explained. The candidates have slept a total of 6 hours in the last 96 hours. They have consumed minimal rations. They have been under constant physical and mental stress. Velthrar watched as the candidates navigated through difficult terrain while carrying heavy equipment. They moved slowly, showing obvious signs of exhaustion. But they moved together, helping each other, refusing to quit. Why do you do this to them? Velthrar asked. Because in real combat, they will face worse, Yang-Su replied. If they cannot handle stress here in a controlled environment, they will fail in the field. And failure in the field means death for themselves and their teammates. Below, one candidate stumbled and fell. Immediately, 2 others stopped to help. They lifted him up, took some of his equipment, and continued moving. They are penalizing themselves by stopping, Velthrar observed. Yes, Young-Soo said. But they will not leave anyone behind. That is our most important principle. The mission matters, but the team matters more. We succeed together or we fail together. The exercise continued. Velthrar watched as the candidates completed tasks that should have been impossible in their exhausted state. They solved complex problems, executed tactical movements, and maintained discipline despite their obvious suffering. This is just training? Velthrar asked. This is basic training. After this, they have years more of specialized instruction. Weapons, tactics, languages, cultural studies, survival skills, medical training. By the time they join an operational team, they have mastered dozens of skills. Velthrar turned to Young-Soo. How do you convince them to endure this? Young-Soo smiled. We do not convince them. They convince themselves. Every candidate volunteers. They know what they are getting into. They do this because they want to be the best, and they are willing to pay the price. The price is very high. Yes, it is. But the result is what you have seen. Operators like Captain Kim and his team, who can accomplish missions that seem impossible to everyone else. Velthrar watched the candidates for another hour. He saw them push through exhaustion, support each other, and refuse to quit no matter how hard the instructors pushed them. He began to understand. When he returned to the station, Dexler was waiting. Well, the ambassador asked. What did you see? I saw something we do not have, Velthrar said slowly. I saw soldiers who trust each other completely, who have suffered together so much that they move as one organism, who would rather die than leave a teammate behind. He paused. I saw warriors who earned their skill through pain and dedication, not through genetics or technology. Can we learn from them? Dexler asked. I do not know if our soldiers can endure what human soldiers endure, but we can try. Velthrar looked at the ambassador. I recommend we propose an alliance. We stop fighting them and start learning from them. Dexler considered this. High Command will not like admitting we cannot match human capabilities. High Command is not here watching their soldiers refuse deployment orders. I am. Valfara's voice was firm. We have two choices. We continue fighting a war we cannot win, or we become allies with warriors who can teach us to be better. The choice was obvious. Within a month, the Coalition and Earth signed a joint training agreement. Human Special Forces would help train Coalition units in exchange for an end to hostilities. It was not the peace treaty anyone had expected, but it was the one that made sense. 6 months after the diplomatic agreement, the first joint training facility opened on a neutral world. Yangsu Bay stood before a formation of Coalition volunteers, studying them carefully. 50 soldiers from a dozen different species had signed up for the program. He wondered how many would finish. "Welcome to Special Operations Training," he said simply. "The next 12 weeks will be the hardest experience of your lives. Many of you will quit. Some of you will be injured. But those who complete this program will become something new, something better." Among the volunteers stood Rixner, a Skaren warrior who had served with distinction for 8 years. He had volunteered immediately when the program was announced. He wanted to understand what made human operators so effective. The first week nearly broke him. The training schedule was brutal by any standard. Up before dawn, constant physical exercise, tactical instruction, weapons training, navigation exercises, and problem-solving scenarios. All with minimal food and even less sleep. By day 3, Rixner had lost 10% of his body mass. His muscles ached constantly. His mind felt foggy from exhaustion. He watched as several volunteers quit, returning to their units with no shame. The training was simply beyond what they could endure, but Rixner refused to quit. He pushed through the pain, drawing on reserves of strength he did not know he had. And slowly, he began to notice something. The human instructors were not trying to break them. They were trying to forge them into something stronger. "The point is not to make you suffer," Yangsu explained during a rare rest period. "The point is to show you that you can do more than you think possible. Your body will tell you to stop. Your mind will tell you to quit. But you can push past those limits if you choose to." In week 2, they began team exercises. Rixner was paired with 3 other aliens and 1 human instructor. They were given missions to complete while under stress, exhaustion, and time pressure. At first, they failed constantly. They did not trust each other. They did not communicate well. Each soldier tried to complete the mission individually rather than as a team. "Stop," the human instructor said after the 5th failed mission. "You are thinking like individuals. Special operations teams think like a single organism. When I move left, you move right without me telling you. When you need support, I provide it before you ask. We succeed together or we fail together." They tried again, and again, and again. Slowly, painfully, they began to understand. Rixner learned to anticipate what his teammates needed. He learned to trust them to cover his weaknesses while he covered theirs. He learned that asking for help was not weakness, but wisdom. By week 4, his team was moving with a coordination that would have been impossible a month earlier. They still could not match human operators. Their biology simply would not allow the same stress tolerance or sleep deprivation. But they were becoming something more than they had been. The breakthrough came during a night navigation exercise. Rixner's team was moving through rough terrain in complete darkness when one teammate twisted an ankle. The mission timeline did not allow for delays. The easy choice was to leave the injured soldier behind and complete the objective. Rixner did not hesitate. "We carry him. We finish together." The team redistributed the injured soldier's equipment and helped him move. It slowed them down significantly. They completed the mission 3 minutes past the deadline, which meant they failed the exercise. but Young-Soo was smiling when they returned. You failed the mission, but you passed the test. Special operations teams never leave anyone behind. The mission matters, but your teammates matter more. You are beginning to understand. The training continued. Weapons instruction, medical training, demolitions, communications, cultural studies, language basics, survival skills. Each day brought new challenges, new pain, new lessons. By week 12, only 23 of the original 50 volunteers remained. Rixner had lost 20% of his original body mass. His muscles were lean and hard from constant work. His mind had adapted to functioning on minimal sleep. He could solve complex problems while exhausted, injured, and under time pressure. More importantly, he had learned to trust his team completely. They had suffered together, struggled together, and grown together. When they moved through tactical exercises now, they moved as one unit with multiple bodies. On graduation day, Captain Hyun-Woo Kim attended the ceremony. He had been assigned to lead the first joint operation, combining human and coalition special forces operators. You have completed the most difficult training program in known space, he told the graduates. You have proven that excellence is not limited by species or biology. It is limited only by dedication and willingness to sacrifice. Rixner stood at attention, feeling pride mixed with humility. He understood now. Human special forces were not superior because they were human. They were superior because they chose to pay the price that others would not pay. They trained harder, pushed further, and trusted deeper than anyone else. 2 weeks later, Rixner found himself on a dropship with Captain Hyun-Woo's team, heading toward a combat zone. A mutual enemy had emerged, threatening both Earth and coalition territories. For the first time, human and alien special forces would operate together. As the dropship descended through the atmosphere, Rixner felt nervous but ready. Beside him, Lieutenant Ji-Won Park checked her rifle with calm efficiency. Across from him, his coalition teammates prepared their equipment with the same quiet professionalism. How do you keep going when everything says to stop? Rixner asked Captain Hyun-Woo. It was the question that had bothered him throughout training. Hyun-Woo looked at him with understanding. Because someone trained us not to listen to everything. We listen to each other instead. When my body says stop, I look at my team and I see them still moving. When my mind says quit, I remember that they depend on me. We do not fight for ourselves. We fight for each other. Rixner nodded. He understood now. The secret was not individual strength. It was collective trust. The willingness to suffer for your teammates. The refusal to quit because quitting meant failing the people beside you. The dropship touched down in hostile territory. The joint team deployed with practiced efficiency, human and alien moving together, covering each other, trusting each other. They moved through the darkness like a single organism with 12 bodies. Coalition soldiers who saw them later would report something new. Something that had never existed before. Aliens who moved like humans, fought like humans, and succeeded like humans because they had learned the most important lesson human special forces could teach. Excellence is not about genetics, technology, or natural advantages. Excellence is about dedication, sacrifice, and the refusal to accept limits. The galaxy would never be the same. Human special forces had not just won battles. They had shared their greatest weapon, the knowledge that any soldier from any species could become something extraordinary if they were willing to pay the price. And as Rixner moved through the combat zone alongside Captain Hyun-Woo, he realized that he had become exactly what he had set out to understand: a warrior who would never quit, never surrender, and never leave a teammate behind. The legend of human special forces had spread across the galaxy. But now, a new legend was beginning. The legend of what happened when humans taught others to become what they themselves had become: warriors without equal, operators without peer, Teams that succeeded not because victory was easy, but because failure was unacceptable. The joint mission completed successfully with 0 casualties, beginning a new era of cooperation that would reshape the galaxy. And it all started because alien soldiers had refused to confront human special forces, leading to the question that changed everything. If we cannot beat them, can we learn from them? The answer was yes, and the results would echo across the stars for generations to come.